Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. Wanted to show you the market real quick. It's at $2.67 trillion. We got a Bitcoin that's at 59 and Ethereum at 47.53. I'm showing you the ones that matter, I think. Solana's at 218. You've got Cardano at 162, XRP at 103. Let me show you a couple more I like. Let's go down to Algorand, 182. And then we've got Stellar at 34 cents. The market's showing some green today. Also, I wanted to show you this, and I don't do this much, but I wanted to just show you, for a lot of you might enjoy doing this. There's a website, it's called tradingview.com. You can go to it and you can click on whatever digital currency you're into, and then you can just go through and look at the opinions of different people that are like chart people, which I'm not, and you can read and watch their videos and see what they have to say. This one I just wanted to show you as an example. It says XRP getting close to the end of this year, long triangle. Here I look at to past fractal, May 2017 to January 2018, laid it over the current pattern starting at the beginning of April 2021. So this is what he's talking about right here. If you look at where this thing is, and back then you didn't even have an SEC lawsuit, which makes this to me even more of a coiled spring. But this is the interesting part. I'm not saying it's going to $30, but this pattern has been coiling up and getting extremely boring while others in the market are booming. Folks, I mean, it's not just me saying it. When this SEC lawsuit thing gets over with, the idea of this thing blasting from $10 to $30 is, I mean, that's not a big deal at all to me. I mean, you're talking about a digital asset that's been living under a lack of clarity when, through shenanigans, Bitcoin and Ethereum got their clarity. And this thing you're talking about a coiled spring. Coiled spring is right. Okay, I wanted to remind everybody, this, yesterday was Cyber Monday. Unstoppable Domains, which these are in the top of the description of this video, they're still doing the buy one, get one free. They've extended the sale for 12 hours. And then Pure VPN has 6 hours left on its 88% off 5-year plan. So both of the links for this one and for that one. And remember, a virtual private network, it's what I use one of these things for mine too, for my computer, so that I can surf anonymously on the internet. It's important. Okay, moving along. What just happened? Okay, they have some other thing that came up. All right, this came across Twitter today. Just in, Twitter bans sharing images or videos of private individuals without their consent, just one day after former CTO, however you say that name, was named CEO. Now, I don't know what private individuals means, because some people are in public, like Gary Gensler's in public. Does this mean that if they're private but they once were in public office, you can't show their pictures or videos? Because if that's what they're saying, that's some shady stuff going on right there. Because that would be an intentional move to keep people from showing truth. I think this is an intentional move to keep people from showing truth anyway. But anyway, this remains to be seen. Because here's 3 individuals. I tweeted this out this morning. I tweeted it out to the news agencies. Most of the news agencies here, the ones that do not want to show you what's really going on. But I did add like a Joe Rogan. If he ever picks up on this, it's game on, because he tells the truth. Then I showed it to a few Congress people. I clipped this from ProCoinNews.com, which is the website right now to me. American crypto innovation under siege, SEC versus Ripple. And here's the counter. Here's a public individual. Let's go back to what they said. Images for private individuals. Well, these 2 individuals were public officials, which our public officials, past and present, should be fair game if you're in a democracy and if you want power to be held to the standard of truth and not have abuses of power, which we'll get to here in a second, by the way, folks. So these guys should not be considered private individuals. They got paid by U.S. taxpayers, and they were public servants. And public servants, just because they're out of office, does not mean that they should. So what that would mean is, let's say that you've got a public, let's say you have a, just as an example, let's say you had a public servant, okay? And then then he goes out of office. Let's say we had a president of the United States who later is out of office, but you find out after he's out of office that he was he was a spy for the Russians or the Chinese. Are you saying we shouldn't be allowed on Twitter to show his picture? Are you freaking kidding me? If that's what they're saying, then we've got much bigger problems in this country than we realize. And there's a lot of people and entities that could be compromised, folks. All right, but I don't know that that's what they're saying. All right, John Deaton, Joseph Grundfest, a former SEC commissioner and a prominent legal academic, who wrote a letter to Clayton and his fellow commissioners urging them to back down because retail investors who had purchased XRP for years would be crushed by an SEC case. The letter, which has been reviewed by Fox Business, states the staff has articulated no material distinction between the operation of Ether and of XRP. Ether and XRP should be treated similarly. If Ether is to be allowed to trade freely in the market, so too must XRP. And he got these videos from the Ripple XRP. He found the videos, so I gave him credit here. Joseph Grundfest, this is the first one. This is Joseph Grundfest right here. And wait till you see the third video, folks.
Gensler's request for legislation, the way I read it, was a massive cry for help. All right? Because I don't think the SEC really knows what to do with this situation in terms of if it had the job to write regulations. All right? And Commissioner Pierce, she's got her proposals, but the probability that would get critical mass at the agency is not huge. And I think quite wisely, Chairman Gensler is saying, look, we need help from our bosses, and our bosses here are Congress. So Congress, you tell us how you want to handle this. In the interim, I'll be very candid. I'm not impressed with the job that the SEC is doing in this case. Right? And by the way, let me disclose, I'm an advisor to Ripple in the XRP litigation. So I just want everybody to know that. I don't play these games as some others do. So in my view, this is not the set of issues, many issues that should be resolved through litigation. These are issues that you need to face and you need to address through regulation. It's been a battle at the agency for decades over the notion of regulation through litigation. All right. And this, I think, is one of the best examples of a case that's being inappropriately litigated when instead the matter should have been dealt with through rulemaking. Because you litigate this stuff, it's a blunt. You're not going to get any guidance for the market. Everything is going to be so narrowly focused on what the circumstances were in this particular case. You're not going to have expert testimony from technologists and all sorts of other people that you need in order to come up with a rational policy. It's not going to help the world. All right. What you need is absent, guidance from Congress. We need clear positions from the SEC to explain what works and what doesn't, and we know litigation will never get there.
Remember, Joseph Grundfest is one of the most respected people from the SEC for the last 30 years, folks. When he's talking like this, it means something. Listen to this clip.
When the SEC said that Bitcoin wasn't a security, and they said that it wasn't a security in part because it was sufficiently decentralized, I just sort of heard that and I sort of said, well, this is like crypto amateur hour. What's going on here? All right. Because if you know anything about hash power, all right, and Bitcoin, at that point in time, more than 50% of the hash power resided in China. If you look at the Cambridge University data, approximately 65% of Bitcoin hash power today sits in China. Well, if you've got more than 50% of the hash power, you can cause a hard fork, and in effect take over the entire chain, and you control the chain. Now, as a practical matter, politically, all of the hash power in China can easily be brought under the control of the Chinese government in about a millisecond. So what that means is that the Chinese government has de facto control over Bitcoin. It can cause a hard fork.
And Ethereum.
Now,
that mining was
how
controlled
is
there
it
too.
possible that the SEC says that under those circumstances, Bitcoin is sufficiently decentralized? I don't get it. I mean, is it that they didn't know that there was that much hash power that resided in China then and now? Or is it they knew and they didn't care? Well, if they knew and they didn't care, then what does this concept of decentralization mean? So this one statistic, all right, about the de facto operation of Bitcoin seems to me to really raise fundamental and almost unanswerable. It's one of two things. They didn't know, that's one problem, or they knew and they still thought it was decentralized. Maybe that's an even worse problem.
Here's how it's a worse problem, because the option he doesn't mention is 3, is that someone told them that they had to figure out a way to rationalize getting Bitcoin and Ethereum out from under securities laws. Remember what Lowell Ness said? He said, this is how, I won't quote him exactly, but he, in so many words, he said, we thought that decentralization is what could get Bitcoin and Ethereum out from under securities laws. Almost like they had the mission of getting them out from under securities laws. And then when we thought about it for long enough, we thought this concept of saying they're decentralized would do it. That's what this is, folks. Make no mistake. But you think that's disturbing? This is disturbing because make no mistake here. You have an ex-SEC commissioner accusing Jay Clayton right here of abuse of power. He's not, I won't say he's accusing him. I will say that what he's bringing up is abuse of power, and I'll prove it to you. I looked up the definition, but listen first.
Well, Dan, do you have a solution to that?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what centralization means, right? And I think that was the Hinman speech with Ethereum, which I know riled the markets again, right? Because he was effectively saying that when it came out, it was a security, but then it became decentralized over time.
Right, but if the Chinese government can force a hard fork in Bitcoin, how is it that Bitcoin is decentralized by any rational definition of decentralization?
Yeah, the standards, again, it's just like I said, I mean, the standards aren't clear. But one thing was clear, Joe, to your point, there was a pretty declarative statement. Bitcoin is not a security. Ethereum's not. But, sorry to touch a sensitive point, but XRP is. And you kind of, it does hurt the brain when you go through and try to parse these things out.
When hurt the brain is another way of saying arbitrary and capricious.
Now, folks, when I heard him say I've told you on this channel for a long time, words mean things. Arbitrary. When I heard him say arbitrary and capricious, I knew that he was saying something specific. That's not just a couple of words. That is that's legal terminology. And I said here, words mean things. Arbitrary and capricious means doing something according to one's will or caprice. I should know how to pronounce that word. Anyway, therefore conveying a notion of a tendency to abuse the possession of power. Folks, make no mistake. Read my lips. He just said in so many words that he thinks that what was done here with Bitcoin and Ethereum was an abuse of power. And I think that Joseph Grundfest and I think Nancy Wotas were two of the good guys that were involved in the venture capital working group, which is what ended up with the Hinman speech. I think they were working in good faith. Some of those people I don't think were. And I think he thinks there's been an abuse of power. And I think he just told you. And I forwarded it to Congress. I said, let that sink in, abuse of power, because that's exactly what he's saying. Now, speaking of that, TAIG XRP put this out today. Well, would you look at that? Bill Hinman sitting next to Aaron Wright, who chaired the working group of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, helped organize the Brooklyn Project, and developed open law with consensus. This was September 16th of 2019. There he is, and there's Aaron Wright. Aaron Wright is the guy I've shown you on stage with one of the legal people from Consensus. The way I remember it, he was the co-chair of the Brooklyn Project. And remember, that's how Charles Gasparino got into this whole soap opera, folks, because he covered it on May 10th of 2018. And he said that Andrew Keyes told him that it was SEC sanctioned, the Brooklyn Project. And that is what ultimately ended up with the Hinman speech. Folks, we've been on this all along. We've got the timeline. We've got the names. We know who was involved. And that's why you think Congress and all these people are scurrying around to do hearings and all this for no reason. They're doing it because it's dead to rights, folks. We've got it. And it's not one person. It's thousands of people in social media that have the timeline, have the names of the companies and the people involved, have the video of their own words. Well, this isn't some speculation or whatever. This isn't conspiracy. This is their own words. We have it. Nope, they never thought we would find it, folks, but we did. And now thousands of people have it. And they can't have that. It's one thing to be doing things that aren't right. It's one thing for Congress to even know that things are being done that aren't right. It's another thing altogether for thousands of people to be blasting it from the rooftops. This is what was done. Congress, what are you going to do? They can't have that. That's why we keep doing it, because this needs to be fixed. We need a level playing field. That's all we ever wanted. We don't want Bitcoin and Ethereum to be hurt, but we don't want XRP to be hurt because somebody decided to do something shady and make it where it wasn't a level playing field. Okay? That's the fact, Jack. And speaking of, I have a question. Okay, look at this. Grayscale has launched a new trust dedicated to Solana. Okay? Now remember, Grayscale, the company, is owned by the Digital Currency Group. CoinDesk, the crypto news site, is owned by the Digital Currency Group. Okay? And now Grayscale is launching a new trust dedicated to Solana. So I have a basic question. Remember when the SEC lawsuit dropped and Grayscale dropped the XRP trust? Okay? So they told you right there that Grayscale, they cannot list something if it's a security, if the SEC thinks it's a security. Okay, now I want you to think this through. In the regulatory environment we're in now, Grayscale has just watched the SEC sue XRP and Ripple, okay? Sue Ripple, all right? Are you telling me that Grayscale is now going to turn around and put Solana in a trust unless the SEC has told them that Solana is not a security? And then this is my series of questions. There's no way in this regulatory environment that they do this with no clarity. If they did get clarity, then why isn't everyone else? Why is the SEC not telling the entire market and giving the entire market clarity? Congress, you need to be listening. You need to be asking them this. And then I'm asking Barry Silbert, because he's the CEO of the Digital Currency Group, and I'm asking CoinDesk this too. Remember, they dropped the XRP lawsuit when the SEC suit came out. So how can you be creating a Solana trust? There's no way they're doing this unless the SEC has told them something. And if the SEC is telling Grayscale, and in essence the Digital Currency Group, are they getting information on the inside that the rest of the market is not getting? What's going on here? This is not good. Something's bad right here. Because what the SEC needs to do is come out and say, okay, Solana's not a security, so that everybody can benefit from what you're seeing Grayscale and in essence the Digital Currency Group benefit from. What's going on here? What is going on here? I'll say it again. Remember, folks, today is that JP Morgan Crypto Economy Forum. It's if you type in JP Morgan Crypto Economy Forum and Coinbase, it's going to happen at 1:15 p.m. Pacific time, so that you know about it. Now, also yesterday, linked to linqto.com, one of my sponsors, they added some more Ripple equity, and a lot of it has sold and it hasn't been lasting too long. but they've still got a little bit left. They got a tiny amount of link to left. I didn't look at Uphold, but they got some of that left too. And then of course Kraken. But these things are going pretty quick, so just pay attention to it. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button. Tell your friends and family to ask Grayscale who gave them the clarity necessary to create a Solana Trust. And folks, I want Solana to do well. I want Solana to have a trust. I want it to have a freaking mutual fund, for crying out loud. I want them all to do well on a level playing field. But the key question here is, who is giving Grayscale information behind the scenes when they're not giving the market information? Because they're not doing this. Remember, they dropped that XRP trust. There's smoke here. There's smoke here all over the place, folks.